To all my people thinking about having babies out there, have them and have as many as possible, because like they are the main variable in my life that has allowed me to become who is necessary. Like the reality is you can't grow that fast without such a diabolical force in your life, so detrimental to who you were that you have to literally redefine who you are with each instance.
Today's episode comes to you straight from the Foundation Insurance Services podcast studio, your home for elevating voices, inspiring leaders, and building the community one conversation at a time. If you're enjoying the journey, we'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach even higher.
What if success does not come from being naturally gifted, but from being willing to be bad at something long enough to build a system that finally works? Luke Gilbert is a real estate entrepreneur, AI systems builder, and founder based in Idaho. His career started in real estate and property management. Today, Luke is taking that into the future of AI. Through projects like Smart, Agent AI, and Thought Partner, he's building tools that help businesses communicate, remember, and operate more intelligently without losing the human element. His work is shaped by pressure, problem solving, failure, iteration, and persistence. At his core, Luke is focused on creating systems that support people, strengthen relationships, and help businesses grow through trust and consistency. Luke, welcome to the podcast.
Jan, thanks for having me. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. That felt like my eulogy.
Let's hope that's not the case.
True. Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of it with us.
Honored.
Tell me about Luke Gilbert. By the way, I live in Gilbert, Arizona, so it's kind of like
hot down there.
There's the connection. But
yeah, and when people are watching this, there's a Luke Gilbert out there on the internet that isn't me, and that guy's a dweeb. So throw the William in there if you're looking for me.
Nice.
Luke William Gilbert.
Luke William Gilbert.
Yeah.
So before real estate, before coaching, before 2 Degrees North,
Yep.
which we can get into all of that, who was Luke Gilbert, and what was life like? How did it teach you to be the man you are today?
Well, I jokingly say my life started with finding out I was pregnant with my son, Eli, and that was right around 30 years old. So there's a couple of stories before then, but that's kind of where professional Luke started. So I was in San Francisco digging ditches for a contractor and bartending at night, playing drums in a rock and roll band as kind of like a failed sound designer in a tech scene that was supposed to be easy success in San Francisco. But I remember the day distinctly. I mean, I was down in some dirty hole digging with a shovel, and my wife texted me and says, "We have to talk." And I was sure she was either breaking up with me or something terrible had happened. And it turned out we were pregnant with my son. And that was kind of like, I don't know, you step through these, like, you step across timelines in life. Like there's these wormhole moments. And it was kind of like the death of an old version of me, and like the awkward, struggling infant version of how I became where I am today. So I think that's kind of where it all started, was fatherhood, really, and what that demands of you. So that'll come up a lot in today's conversation because I'm a family-forward guy. I mean, I've kind of built my business around the priority of family, which is possible, and I encourage you to do if you're out there listening to this, because your life gets to be the one you build, not the one you were given. But it all started with kids for me.
Nice. Did before
way back,
let's say life slapped you upside the head and woke you up?
That's exactly how it felt.
And you said you were digging ditches in San Francisco. Was that kind of a paycheck to paycheck? You get paid on the weekend, you go blow it, and by Monday you're back to got to work another week to get paid again to get back out and do it again on the weekend? Or
yeah, I mean, like, how far you want to roll it back? The reality is, like, I ran out to San Francisco chasing a dream, and that was music. And like, I didn't know I was going to be a musician in life, but I went to college, and college didn't really work for me. So I started studying music instead to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And turns out, like, I'm like a laser beam. Like, you point me at something, I get good enough at it to be dangerous. And that's how it happened for me with music. Like, I kind of found my niche, and I was making sound effects and music for video games. So I threw all my stuff in a truck in Boston and drove to San Francisco, two of the most expensive places in the world to live. And here I am with like $2,000 to my name and a drum kit. Like, what could go wrong? And I had to survive the transplant moment in San Francisco. So I became a bartender, really, because it was 2008. April 2008 is when I arrived in San Francisco. And the economy just basically slid sideways in San Francisco, if not stepped back a little bit. And I quickly ran out of work as a self-employed sound designer. And I would say I was pretty good at it. Like, I worked on BioShock, which won Best Game Audio 2007 and Game of the Year that same year. I wasn't necessarily, like, I thought I was mitigating risk with a successful resume, but that industry just kind of seized up for a minute there, and sound is where the money gets pulled from first. So whatever I had going on, which was a couple of successful self-directed projects, and I won the Indie Game Challenge with a young developer out in San Francisco who I met handing out business cards. Kind of always had that grit, but I had to survive, so got a job at a bar, and then that turned into a job with a contractor who renovated the bar, because I just like to work, man. It's like I didn't have kids, I didn't have a wife, I had nothing to do, so I just worked, and I enjoyed it. So it was paycheck to paycheck, because I drank a ton back then. I've been sober for like 8.5 years now. That was another part of my being a dad journey. But at the time, it was just like making good money for a single guy working 2 jobs and living that lifestyle in San Francisco.
Do you still play drums today?
If you put me on the drums, you'd think I was a drummer. Let me put it that way. It's like riding a bike. You get rusty, but you never really forget.
What was your genre that you enjoyed playing the most?
It's funny. It's like I've always had that entrepreneur's shiny object syndrome. It's like I don't know. I could play the drums, the guitar. I would say production was my best instrument. I could get people in a room and make something really magical happen. So
wow.
They kind of like drums was never enough for me. It was just the easiest place for me to get started because I'm not a talented musician, but I had enough rhythm to sort of fake it. And I've always been convincing, so I got a couple of killers in my band at a few points in my career that kind of pushed me to be a really good drummer, and I would say it's the thing I could fake the best. But if you gave me a guitar today, you'd think I was a guitar player until 3 songs later I'm playing the same thing, and you're like, oh, this guy actually only has 3 songs. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm a decent
Have
drummer.
you there's a guy on YouTube, Estepiano or something like that.
Yeah, that crazy
Plays
dude.
the drums.
It's insane.
Dude, I'm like, how the guy, I won't even say that I played. I pretended in high school to play the drums.
Right, to get the girls,
And
right?
man, I watch some of the stuff he does, and it's like, it blows my mind. It's like, how is he getting that in there?
Dude, if you want to get depressed as a drummer, go hang out on Instagram for a while. The reality is people are doing some crazy stuff.
It's amazing.
I don't think I've ever been that good at anything. I think maybe that's something that there's a chapter in my life where I'll become that level of expert. But I tend to kind of fan out across things, and then I learn from width, not necessarily depth. And then that's just continues to repeat itself in my business. I mean, I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I don't really have the focus to just laser beam one area. I think maybe that's a skill set that's valuable moving into the future where things move so fast. Generalism used to kind of be frowned upon, but it's becoming, I think, well-rounded is a better look right now because of the agility required. But I didn't.
Yeah.
That's just how I'm built. It's like the timing of the universe is favoring me right now. Not that I've intentionally built this well-rounded skill set. It's almost like my time is now, I think.
I think it's interesting because I feel like I'm somewhat probably in the same boat. Like I've done insurance for 30 years, but really I got into insurance because I needed to make money.
Yep.
And I enjoy it. I enjoy doing what I do. I do more business insurance than personal insurance, but I've found this platform, mechanism, whatever, that allows me to be creative. And I think allowing me to dig into that creative part of my brain has just captured me much deeper. But then the more I've dug into some of the AI tools that are out there and how it can actually help process and things, it's almost like a really exciting frontier to be able to say, truly, if you learn to understand it, it's not scary. It can help you do some amazing things. I mean, are things changing? Sure. But I remember when I was a kid and computers were just coming out, and it's like, oh, these computers are going to make it so we don't have to work as hard. It's like, yeah, okay. Now you just got to do double duty. You know?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean.
This episode is made possible by our partners at Built Different Restoration. When water, fire, or mold damage hits your home or business, you need a local team you can trust to respond fast and do it right. Learn more at BuiltDifferentRestoration.com.
shout out to Guidance Alliance, a trusted peer advisory group for business owners who want honest answers, not motivation posters, small groups, weekly sessions, ideas that actually work. Visit guidancealliance.com to learn more.
Absolutely. And AI is kind of a crazy medium because it's terrifies most people. And then to your point, when you start to get into it, it's like having a power drill instead of something that you turn by hand. It's just, it's a more useful tool. And as I come into myself, like I've been studying leadership and building business, like I don't know. It's like the future is for visionaries who can communicate, because the tools are wormholing the friction that used to be either high cost or high intelligence, or intelligence isn't the word, but high technical skill set. Those things are falling away. Like I'm in the middle of right now of building an orchestration platform for running multiple AI agents on a single software project at once, because I was running into a friction moment. So as an entrepreneur, my skill set is always, why are we doing it this way? Like feeling friction. I'm like an antenna for friction. And then my creative juices start flowing and then solving the problem. I wasn't always in real estate. I was, first of all, a bartender. And then my stability play, like your insurance play, was being an electrician. And being an electrician had a distinct ceiling that I felt early. Then I read my way out of the electrical union, really, because I was working alongside of a guy who was 63 years old with a 3-year-old son. And I said, oh man, well at least you get to retire soon. And he was like, wah. And I was like, what? That's not, you'll get to go hang out with your son. Won't that be great? He's like, Luke, I only have 20 years in, is what he said to me. And I'm like, that's a lot of time. He's like, yeah, but my pension looks like about $2,300 a month. And I was like, oh, damn. And I'm sitting there, I got my fingers out counting backwards. I'm like, I'm 36 years old, or maybe I'm 35 during that conversation, realizing I've only been in the union for 2 years. So I'm this guy. This is me. Yeah. And his $2,300 a month is my $4,300 a month 15 years from now. And I'm realizing like that's not going to cut it. So to defer that responsibility was a giant mistake. Like I had to move faster. So feeling the pressure, I just jumped out of being an electrician and went into real estate and got a contracting license. So it's again feeling that friction early and then making a pivot to, if you could see your ceiling, bro, it's going to hit you in the face.
Oh yeah.
And maybe insurance, maybe you own that business, and that is a nice, predictable business model. But
well, it's predictable until the point where it's not, right? I mean, you think, okay, we've got this figured out, and we have a good client base, and everything's going awesome, but then it's a good client that you've had for years decides they're going to leave, and the only reason is because you know,
they don't
it's
have
like
that business anymore, you know.
Yeah, so what did I do? Yeah. It's like, so you kind of take things personally, but it is the nice thing about insurance is it is fairly steady once you get a book of business set up. But like all industries, it has its ebbs and flows and does its goods and bads, I guess, if you will. Yeah. You said that or at least I think in something that I had read, that the financial success did not happen for you until later in life. Obviously, you've already talked about that a little bit, but what was it like emotionally when you were still trying to figure it out, and you obviously were bartending, met your wife, or future wife, I guess, found out she was going to have a baby. What was that like?
Terrifying.
In that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was like defibrillating. It was like such a huge amount of energy that felt negative. You know what I mean? It was like being excited in all the wrong ways. Anxious is a good way to put it, but like it was different than that. And like I remember the moment because I literally sat down on the step and I was like, I don't have a plan for this. You know what I mean? Like I was not stacking skills and credentials to survive fatherhood. And I'm not saying you should. I think people who try to build that before they have it, they don't know what they're building for. And really it's more disruptive because to have to figure it out from scratch was more of a runway than it was necessarily an obstacle. But he cycled through victimhood, and I called my dad to cry and whine about it. And like I did all the little baby things that little babies do before they have their own babies. Like you can't really be an adult without children because you don't know where the line is. So it was horrible. And then we had back-to-back children. So Remy and Eli are born 13 months apart. both of
Oh,
them
wow.
not planned. So it was like, I remember when my wife...
Did you figure out what caused it yet?
Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion because I'm up to 4 kids now, so it's a little bit like, oh, I guess this is what's pulling that off. But there was that moment, like my wife told me we were pregnant again, and I was just so tired, I didn't care. It was just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we're already in it. Let's just keep pushing. Like, to all my people thinking about having babies out there, have them and have as many as possible, because like they are the main variable in my life that has allowed me to become who is necessary. Like, the reality is you can't grow that fast without such a diabolical force in your life, so detrimental to who you were that you have to literally redefine who you are with each instance. So my daughter, like, I was probably gonna, I became a good electrician fast, and I was project managing in the very high luxury space. Like, we were working on $15 million homes in Sea Cliff out in San Francisco. And I pretty quickly became a project manager because I just had this weird friction cycle I was talking about earlier. So I was building systems, and it was like topping out at $100 and something thousand in San Francisco is like dirty poor. Yeah. And so renting kept
crazy.
It is crazy. That whole town didn't make any sense once we had 1 kid. Once I had 2 kids, like, I knew I couldn't survive it. But it was almost like I would have probably stuck it out and figured it out if I didn't, because I was still bartending, and then I'd bartend to get home at 4 a.m, wake up at 7 a.m, go back to being an electrician. Like, it was insane. And then
Wow.
we had babies, so it was like nobody's sleeping. It's like, you better do that sort of thing when you're young, because trying to pull that off now, I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, like, that again redefined everything about the way that I work. So
Yeah.
you have to have that level of disruption in order to have to rethink the way that you're approaching the world. So I don't want any more kids because I'm still wobbling from the last 2. But one of the reasons I got into AI was a distinct need for time leverage, and also like the cost of overhead. And there was just so many forces at once where being infinitely available as a real estate agent, which is a real estate agent's currency. If anybody's listening to this, they're going to jive on this piece. It's like, I have never built a business as a real estate agent. I've always had a job. Despite my best efforts to build a business in that medium, no matter what, it was a job, because if I don't work, I don't get paid. And as I try to build systems that people plug into, like, the churn is so aggressive that you start to slide back financially, so you end up back out in front. So trying to regain control of time and income has had me chasing these other dragons. But you get to become whoever you want to be, and if what's in your life is disruptive enough that you have to redefine yourself, you just might. And that's another one of those timeline transfer moments. Like, we had figured out money by the end of 2021, and then it was like,
Yeah.
I know I've got to go back and have some kids, because I can't, like, I need the pressure. I'm supposed to carry the weight. I'm supposed to become some better version of myself, and I don't think you can do that from the couch. There's no comfort path to high degrees of success. It's almost like you have to have burning anxiety no matter what, and you just feed it with opportunity.
Yeah. What drove you to move, or when did the move from San Francisco to Idaho happen? What was it work that pushed you out there, or
It was
just decided you wanted someplace you didn't have to spend all of your money on rent?
Yeah, I mean,
This podcast is powered by Above Par Network, where networking isn't about awkward mixers or endless pitches. It's about genuine relationships, real opportunities, and having a good time doing it. If you're ready for networking that actually works, visit AboveParNetwork.com.
This episode is powered by 5 Leaf Financial, expert accountants, tax preparers, and CFOs who help you make smarter financial choices. If you want peace of mind around your finances, visit 5leaf.net.
financial equation didn't work in San Francisco, but it's also just a terrible place to raise a family. Even if you're wealthy out there, it's not a safe environment for your kids. And when it stops being about you and your access to fun restaurants and stuff, it really becomes, we can't even take our kids out. So it was a little bit of, it was the perfect storm. I didn't have enough money to survive it. Didn't have a strategy for how to overcome that. The financial risk was super high because the cost of living set this baseline that we were barely keeping up with anyway. So to try to make some career pivot would have been a very high cost endeavor, because you had to maintain a fixed monthly cost to then go try to succeed in another environment. So I just was tapped out. So then I looked at my wife and I'm like, we have to leave. I don't know how to do this yet, but we've got to get out of here, because the road forward is not a road forward, it's a road backwards. And I'm slowly but surely charging things to a credit card and just building a negative position, really. So we moved in with my wife's parents down in San Diego. That was my brilliant solution, is like, then we don't have to leave California, so whatever I've accumulated in experience as an electrician here doesn't have to transfer state lines. And my father-in-law was in construction down there, and so were my brother-in-laws, so it's like I had some opportunities. So we just moved in with my in-laws, which everybody told me was a stupid idea, and it was. And then it took about 4 months of living with them to realize that wasn't a solution. And then we started renting in San Diego, which was the same damn cost as San Francisco. Only the money was significantly worse, because I had joined the union down in San Diego, which basically I had not gained the credentials of a union member. I have gained the experience and hours required without the education. So it was like everybody wanted to start me all over again. So I sort of limped through that in San Diego for about 10 months and was like, we got to get the hell out of California, dude. There's no place in California where the wage as a tradesman outpaces the cost of living. There's nowhere. So you could be the highest paid tradesman in the universe and still not be able to survive San Francisco or San Diego. And that's when it was like, all right, if we could go anywhere, where would we go? And my wife kept saying, Boise, and I'm like, I don't even know where Boise, Idaho is, hon. Like, no clue where that is. I was thinking Denver, because I was looking through the lens of like pay scale against cost of living, and at the time Denver kind of made sense. But we flew up to Portland to check it out because it was hot on my wife's list, and then we drove over to Boise. And when I got to Boise, literally I spent 20 hours in Boise, and I took a job and I bought a house. It was like, wow. Checking out, because we had some money for a down payment. You just couldn't afford a shoebox in California. I bought my first house in Idaho for $220,000. It's like they were given away back then, and that gave me a baseline cost where risk was possible. And I didn't know it at the time. I was literally solving a linear equation. The numbers for me was I came out 36% ahead to move and take a pay cut against cost of living. And so that mathed for me. The risk reward was I get out of California. Idaho, don't move here because we're already full. That's not entirely true, but there's no better place to raise a family, Jan. I mean, the cost of living, the cleanliness, the safety, the lifestyle up here is very family forward. So it kind of felt like leaving the worst place possible to raise a family and getting to the best place possible to raise a family. But cost of living was rising here, so I was watching that happen. That's when I had that conversation with the electrician, and it was just like, okay, replacing location only can take you so far. You know what I mean? There's variables that you can change in your life, and some of them have bigger influence than others. It was the right move to join the union and then jump state lines. It created the stability and the opportunity for me to get a loan against a very cheap house, etc. But then that doesn't mean you get to, what got you here isn't going to get you there, right? So as I watched the cost of living rise, my buddy had bought a house up here as an investment. I helped him buy it, he just feet on the ground, and he was like, will you manage it for me? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course I will. And then I bring that home to my wife, and she's like, dude, you're already doing X, Y, and Z. I had 17 hustles to try to make a living and with kids, and it was like, something's got to give. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to quit being an electrician. And she just kind of looked at me like, okay, tell me more about that. And of course, as I'm going to the job site as a union member, I'm sober now. Nobody really gets me anymore. I'm growing past that environment. I don't belong there anymore. I'm showing up to the job site at 5:30 instead of 6, and I'm reading for a half an hour before I go in. I'm reading books like Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm just starting to find literature that creates a different picture. And it was literally like I read myself out of the union. It took about a year of reading to come to the conclusion that I knew where I would go if I wasn't stuck here. And then we just kind of jumped. And in my town, in Idaho specifically, there's very little red tape for business ownership. It's like the wage is depressed in this town. It's a right to work state. The stated minimum wage is still $7.25. Nobody makes that. Everybody's up in the $15 an hour at this point. But there's a little bit of some downward pressure on the earning potential of a job, and that's universal, but it was distinctly noticeable here. And then there's huge upside potential to business ownership here, because to be a general contractor, you just need proof of insurance and you need to register your business with the state. It's that simple. In California, there's so much regulation around it that you need a license. It's the white coat state. Everything is regulated. So I got a real estate license and a general contracting license, and then worked 14-hour days for 3 months to realize one opportunity was better than the other. And then I just stopped contracting entirely and went 100% into real estate. And it all looks like it was well planned, but it was just like listening to the friction points and having the courage to pivot, really.
Mm-hmm. With regards to real estate, you were rookie of the year stepping into real estate. Was that what did you do to get to that point? Because I mean, real estate's not an easy industry.
No,
it's really insurance. We have residuals. Real estate, you sell and it's done. So then it's a matter of how often is a client going to buy and sell a house again. So maybe 5 years, 7 years, 20 years down the road. So building that up. But how did you go from being an electrician, deciding, okay, I'm going to step away from being an electrician, I'm going to be a real estate agent, and become rookie of the year? Is it Keller Williams? Was that where you were?
Yeah, I was at Keller Williams. It's like the third largest brokerage in the valley here. Man, it just was, it was kind of a burn the boats environment. It's kind of like when the kids show up, you don't have a choice. I had quit my job as an electrician, and I really didn't know what being a real estate agent meant. And I think most people who join the real estate agent force have no clue what they're getting into. It has nothing to do with technical proficiency. And as an electrician, I was very technically proficient. I did kooky things like read the code book. The things that most people wouldn't do, I was doing as an electrician to move faster in that space. It's just a different playing field in real estate. I mean, my market timing was good. I got here in 2016. I had my real estate license in 2018, very end of that year. So my first full year as a real estate agent where I won Rookie of the Year was 2019, which happened to come right before 2020, which happened to come right before 2021. So in 2021, I made $1 million in a single year. And that was on the back of the momentum I had built from 19, 20 into 2021. It was like I just kept hitting go. And I'm not from Idaho. I'd only been here 2 years, and I would say what I learned in California was how to be antisocial. I jokingly say I had to learn how to smile again when I got to Idaho, because people are actually friendly here. So I wasn't really networking well. So you get your real estate license, which is, again, simple as hell. It's 2 weeks of school, $600, and you're licensed. So that's one of the reasons I chose it. I'm like, Idaho wanted to start me over in school again as an electrician. So it was like 5 years of school to a journeyman license in Idaho. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'll take this 2-week course and be licensed in something else. So I had my license, and then you show up to the brokerage and they're like, great, now go get some business. And you're like, wait, what? What do you mean get some business? Like, oh, here's kind of how you do that. So I had 300 numbers in my phone book. Probably, I don't know, 75% of them were out of state. Called them all anyway, and in about 2 days worth of work later, I realized I wasn't a good salesperson and I didn't have anybody to call. So it was like, well, now what? And I had this moment where I'm like, dude, I'm going to screw this up. I made this leap not knowing what I was getting into, and now it's I better learn these variables quickly or I just let everybody down. There's not a plan B in place here. I mean, I could always go back to being an electrician, I guess, but it was like no going back. So if you don't give yourself an exit strategy, success becomes inevitable. And then it really becomes, are you willing to do what it takes? So I came to the conclusion that if I walked out the door and looked around, everybody who lives in a house is a potential customer, whether they're a renter or an owner. So I don't have a shortage of customers. I have a shortage of the courage required to go find customers. And so I decided I was going to go door knocking. And like I can remember the night before I went out, I was literally having a panic attack. Like I'm sitting on the couch next to my wife. I'm so terrified of what I have to do tomorrow that like I'm having that anxious, like defibrillating feeling again. It was like cold sweats and like jitteriness. And my wife looked at me, she says, are you all right? And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And like, it's kind of amazing how scary sales is. At this point, I've normalized that. I don't give a shit. I'll go do whatever. But back then it was like, wait, you're going to do what? And everybody I talked to about it was like, that's crazy. Because normal people don't want to show up on somebody else's doorstep. And it was a catastrophe, man. I was terrible at it. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never sold a house before. I didn't know what to say, but I was just going to do it in reps. So I started knocking 150 doors a day, which is kind of a lot when you're a rookie. You don't really know what you're doing. It's sort of exhausting. I can remember on my 1474th door, Mito Alonso opens the door, and the first thing he says to me is, "Do you believe in God?" That's it. That's what he says to me. Big old Mexican guy with a huge mustache covering his mouth. And I was like, yes. And like, the funny thing is I like internally, I had a conflict about that answer because I just had not been thinking about my spiritual development in years. I grew up wildly Catholic, but it was like, that's not the demon I was chasing. The reality is I didn't have a clear answer, but there was this distinct moment in my career where I just decided I can't do this without a spiritual center. This is God calling me out. The answer is yes. Mito became my first customer. 6 months later, I helped him sell his house and buy another one. I made $24,000 in a single transaction, and that put me on the map. That was as an electrician, second-year apprentice, I was going to make like $34,000 in a year, working 2,000 hours. So it was like, it felt like I'd won the lottery. But what I learned door knocking was how to sell, and what I learned door knocking was how to take rejection, and then like you just start tweaking, find the friction. I started like educating people at the door, realized that didn't work, started showing up for whatever reason, realized that didn't work. And then I sort of paired door knocking with an open house, and that was when things clicked for me. It was like, if I have an open house in the neighborhood, I am qualified because now I have a product that I'm selling. It's not my listing. That doesn't matter. I'm promoting a listing in the neighborhood. That gives me credentials, and it gives me something to talk about. It's like, it's the prop. Hey, don't worry. I'm not here to sell you anything. I just wanted to let you know we're hosting an open house in the neighborhood on Saturday. We're inviting the neighbors to come down, built a script around it, made it super simple. And then once it became simple, it became repeatable. And then it was just about, like, for 3 years, I just ran that play. Every single week, I'd pick an open house on Monday or Tuesday. I'd market that open house to Saturday. I'd host the open house on Saturday, and I was done for the week. I closed 37 transactions in 2021 running that system. In parallel, I was building out a management company, so I actually picked up quite a few investors because investment money was fine in Idaho. We saw the biggest equity swing in 4 years nationally between 2018 and 2022. So it was just like good timing. The subsidiary business of management created repeat customers in the investment space and sort of stacked the residual income that I could take risks against. And at this point, we're managing about 100 doors. I'm not as focused on sales, but that's because I don't have to be. I am now in the process of trying to build a business in the space rather than have a job in the space. And that's got me leaning heavily into this year. I would categorize myself as a software developer in the sales space, really working hard on building infrastructure, which like in 2023, I won the #1 volume producing solo agent at my brokerage. So rookie of the year, you worry that maybe it was a flash in the pan moment. You're a little concerned that maybe you were just riding the wave. 2023 was a flat market out here. 21 had already happened. So to win that award after winning third position the year before, it was like, okay, you know what, I actually have this. Now it is really like, how do I take it, turn it into an SOP that is deliverable instead of like now, and first it was a coaching program. I'll teach you how to do this. You think the wheels fell off that when AI became the question asking platform that it is today. And like, it's hard to sell mentorship to some degree. And that's me telling a story of my own lack of success in that space. But I kind of ran into this thing where it was like, I could teach you to do it or I could do it for you. If I could figure out how to do it for you, I have a more valuable product. And if I could sell you a more valuable product at a lower cost, everybody's happy. And that just put the pressure on software. So launched my first software product this year, which is an inside sales agent platform that leans heavily into well-designed AI. And that's been a really cool project, but I built it for me. I just happened to realize while I was building it that this thing as infrastructure has more legs maybe even than my real estate business that I'm trying to build. So don't get caught in the lane you're in. If you can build a bigger opportunity, real estate is a local business. software is a national or international business, depending on how you build your software. So you open up to a much wider audience, and then the marketing opportunity becomes much grander.
Yeah. I think, too, kind of stepping back a little bit, it's so powerful, the taking a step, burning the bridges and the boats, and going, I don't have a choice, and then working through that fear. I mean, think about the fact that you're going from basically showing up every day on a job, somebody's telling you what to do, basically how to do it, you clock in, clock out, you go home, to, okay, if I don't get up and work, I'm not getting paid, which you weren't getting paid before, but you could call out sick or whatever. Now you go to this situation where you're going to go knock on doors, which I'll tell you, cold calling is my least favorite thing in the world to do.
Everybody's.
It ranks right up there with probably eating dog shit. I don't know, but yeah. I'll tell you, to think about the fact and have that image in my head that it's like, I can totally relate, where it's like you built this plan and now you're going to execute the plan, and everything in you's going,
nope.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that was the hardest part. And people who cold call and are good at it still hate it. Nobody likes cold calling. It's not a comfortable thing to do. It's just a matter of doing what it takes. I don't want to do it again, and I haven't had to do it. I have a business similar to yours now where I had a distinct focus on customer experience, which created quite a bit of referral business and quite a bit of repeat business. And I would say the skill set that I've built in my town is not easy to find. I mean, acquisition and the management is its own path out here, but I understand real estate down to a granular level. I've been through land development projects. One of the reasons I made $1 million in a single year is I flipped entitlements on a subdivision I designed and pushed through in the entitlement process down in Kuna. Had no business doing that. Business partner going in said this isn't going to work and backed out. I said reassign it to me. I spent $40,000 I had left on the project and hit a home run. It was luck, but it was also timing. So it's like, I've taken calculated risks to put me in learning situations where the information has compounded and made me dangerous. So you can't just show up and find another real estate agent like Luke Gilbert. Not to say I'm for everybody either. I'm pretty clear about my brand at this point. I don't dress well. I'm going to swear too much, and I would drag this thing across the finish line if that's what it takes. And that's the right fit for a lot of people. And when Mito hired me, he hired me because I was doing the work. Not because I had the experience. He had no question for me about experience. He wanted to know if I believed in God, because somebody willing to work this hard must. And the answer was yes. And that created a level of experience that gave me the credentials of Rookie of the Year that year. And then I've sold hundreds of houses at this point. That part of my business is on autopilot. I show up because I don't have to stare at it, because I've done it and done it well. But I also am not feeding that business in the same way I'm trying to feed these other opportunities, because I think there's a moment in time for being a real estate agent, and I think I'm late in my years for where I want to go, and I have higher ambitions than making $1 million in a single year. When I won Rookie of the Year and then won number one volume producing solo agent at my brokers, it was like, now what? Just keep trying to win this, scrap it out at the top of this. You're already on the top of this hill, so it's like now you have to sacrifice that level of visibility to build infrastructure that takes you beyond that peak. It has to be about redesigning the way you do business, or else there's no real point in staying in this. You don't want to just repeat the same success over and over again. I think it's required of me that I find pressure situations that push me to the next summit.
One of the things it seems like, and through some of the reading that I did, it sounds to me like you are very process-driven, or figuring out what's working and then sticking to that. Is that similar to how you decided to come up with the AI aspect of it? And did in some way, did that drive you to say, okay, I'm doing a lot of repetitive things. How can I take some of this off my plate and go that direction?
Big thanks to Maritime USA for sponsoring the show, helping businesses simplify payment processing and reduce unnecessary fees. If you're tired of overpaying to accept cards, it might be time for a better option. Learn more at maritimeusa.com.
This episode is supported by Rocks Ink Calligraphy, where every piece is created by hand and designed to be remembered. From custom calligraphy and engraving to live event personalization, Rocks Inc. turns meaningful moments into lasting art. Learn more at rocksinc.com.
I think so. So one of the challenges for me is if I was just doing it for myself, it's like I'm not a good real estate agent when I'm transacting for myself. But when I'm working for other people, like there's something else surfaces in me. So I built a coaching business, maxed out my one-on-one calendar. It was only 5 people, but that's as much as I can handle running 2 other businesses. In that environment, I went into there thinking, I'm going to help people solve lead generation because that's the scariest thing. So I was teaching that system that I was talking to you about, door knocking around an open house. In fact, I built a video course on it. If anybody listening to this needs some way to build their database, it's the way, and I'll share it with you. But I went in, and everybody who needed coaching and had the money to afford it was an experienced agent or experienced loan officer. So I started coaching across both platforms, and everybody had the same problem. They had a database that they weren't utilizing. It's like everybody's got, and you probably has 30 years in the business. If you put AI on your book of business so that somebody was touching them, anybody touches the 10,000 people you've built over your 30-year career. Like so many people just weren't doing that work. So I designed this middle territory play, which is basically you write a data-driven newsletter. And when you write a data-driven newsletter, you become an expert. You become a market expert by writing that newsletter. And so then when people talk to you, you're better. Okay, that's a conversion aspect. But this concept of, I don't know what to say. When you write the newsletter, now you know what to say. If you write a newsletter on Monday and then you touch people who are in your database once a week if they're hot business, once every 2 weeks if they're warm business, or once a month if they're cold business, and you say something to them about the market, which is derived from the story you wrote on Monday, you're bulletproof. You've now mechanized adding value to your customers and proving your expertise in a singular flywheel system. So as I was coaching that, I helped people double their production running that system, because the best opportunity you have is converting existing leads. But people go out and try to churn new leads into their system, and then they die in a pile. So as I was solving that problem for other people, coaching made it that I had to have a smart SOP. Like coaching is a description of what to do. Okay, what do you do? Well, as you tell that story over and over again, it becomes very clear that it needs a mechanism. Like processes precede systems, right? If you have a system but you don't have a process, it's like showing up to Squarespace to build a web page but you don't have any pictures or any content. It's almost impossible, and then you start just throwing in the stock footage, and there's no reason to have that web page. It's the same thing. If you're in business, you have to first focus on how you do things, why you do it that way, and then where the bottlenecks are. And when you go through that cycle enough times, you have a smart process that could be run by an advanced system. AI is an advanced system. So as I got very clear on what my SOP was for middle territory play, it's like, sure, I could coach you to do this, but nobody wanted to write a newsletter. I'm like, you guys are crazy, dude. My newsletter, if you showed up into my ecosystem as a potential customer in the real estate space, I would say, Jen, are you on my newsletter yet? And you'd say, no. And I'd say, oh, let me get you on there, because I track active data into pending data, which is harder to get your hands on. We pull it right from the MLS. You'd have to be a real estate agent to do that. And that's going to help you time the market. So chances are you're not ready to buy a house today. I'm not in a rush if you're not in a rush. But if you start following my newsletter, you're going to know the market like I know the market, and that'll help us build a dialogue together around value, so that when it comes time, we can move quickly. Like, don't you want to be on that newsletter? 100% you do, yeah. So like that,
of course.
So that newsletter, as this gentle value add touch, becomes the gateway into my business. So why people were reluctant to write one, I have no idea. But when I could get people to write one, it made their outreach easier. So I came to the conclusion that I need to mechanize this in my business, because at this point I had it so mechanical where I was manually writing with AI my newsletter, and then I was using that to splinter down into text messages and then sending them manually. I'm like, I'm the bottleneck. I'm the bottleneck. So it wasn't like AI could always do this, but going into this year, it's like the advancements in AI made it feel like a teammate. And so it was like, well, I'm going to introduce John, my AI assistant, as a teammate. It's not me. I'm not going to have it pretend to be me. I'm going to introduce him as a teammate. He's going to write the data-driven newsletter for me, because that's literally what I'm doing already. So now I read my newsletter rather than write it to maintain expertise in the market. He takes that newsletter as the source of truth and splinters it down into text message format and delivers across that cadence I described. It's a lack of imagination to not be able to build a system that does that for you. And so I went heavy into that. It wasn't like I set out to build this system as much as like my SOP became really tight because I was doing it for other people. Coaching across 5 people plus. Some people cycled in and out, so probably 10, 11 people came through the system. They all had the same problem. I thought it was lead gen. It was actually lead nurturing from existing database. That problem surfaces. There's the friction. What are the mechanics around solving the friction? It was something I was already doing mechanically in my business, but manually in my business. And it was like, I didn't mean to arrive at that. It just became the biggest problem I could solve for you. And we're in a solve for you environment. I'm not saying coaching doesn't work. I'm just saying it's harder and harder to sell into that ecosystem. And people no longer want a lead magnet. They don't want a PDF of how to do something because they can go ask GPT how to do it. They want a done for them solution. And that's how a Smart Agent AI was born.
With regards to getting it up and going and off the ground, and when I say it, the real estate business, so you're starting from scratch. And then to where you are today, have there been times in there where you felt like, I'm not doing the right thing? I mean, maybe it was that first 1,478 door knocks that you did. I mean, were there times in there where you kind of sat down with your wife and you looked at it and you're like, I'm not sure this is right? Or have you once you made that decision, you're like, I'm all in and there's no deviation from this course?
I mean, every single one of these little detours I've taken is because I'm never really sure. I still have moments in my career where I'll go 3 months without a closed transaction. I could have $200K on the books right now that won't close until the end of the year. At the end of the day, it's like, how do you create stability as a real estate agent is something I continue to go back to the well for. So I try to keep my wife out of that as much as I can. I sort of suffer alone on some of that stuff because I think it's my job to figure that stuff out, and sharing it with my wife, for what reason, I'm not actually asking for her input. I just sometimes want her to share the worry, which I don't think is relevant. So I don't feel like any of that goes away. You could have $1 million in the bank and still be paycheck to paycheck. You could burn through that $1 million and then have nothing and be paycheck to paycheck, but I've buried all that money in the backyard. I mean, it's all in real estate, so nothing, it's not liquid. So then it's like, well, why do that? Well, that's that pressure mechanism. If you can continue to stack and then make it inaccessible, you have to continue to earn, which puts the pressure on your income. And I'm a focus on your income, not your budget kind of guy. So we don't talk a lot about money management. We talk about earning and my earning potential. And the highest leverage environment I could think of became software. It wasn't like, I know what I'm going after. It was like, coaching, that'll be the thing. And then I built another job for myself, right, which distracted from the job that made me more money, which was real estate agency. So I never am claiming to have figured any of this out. I haven't had it figured out the whole time. When I won Rookie of the Year, I felt like I was losing that whole year. Honestly, I was baffled that I won the award. I just felt like I was getting it wrong the whole time. When I run the top producing volume agent at the brokerage, same scenario. I was like, what? Okay, the year didn't feel that powerful to me. It just happened to be like I just keep chopping away. So I don't know that I have a great plan as much as real estate agency needs to be replaced at some point in my life. And 3 years cyclically now, I've bet on something else and maybe got it right or wrong. Maybe those things were steps towards this current environment that I'm in. But I continue to try to normalize inconsistency through some other opportunity that's related. I built a sales team, that didn't work. I tried again, that didn't work. I built a coaching program, that was a job. And now I'm like, all right, software in this particular environment where I have extreme ability to communicate my vision and I have a good depth of experience to pull from. Like we're in an environment where you could build anything. What are you going to build becomes the real challenge, and are you solving a problem big enough? And that's this chapter for me. If you asked my wife, she'd say every year I say, I think I'm onto something, and then I go fail miserably at something that I'm trying to implement. This could be that year for me, but the demand around the product that I've built has been exciting, and now it's like figuring out how to service people who actually want to be in the ecosystem, and I think I'm on an upward spiral, honestly.
Talk to me about Smart agent AI? And I'm calling it smart agent AI, but I'm assuming there's an acronym in there somewhere.
I couldn't get the URL I wanted, so I went with SMRT because it looks like smart and it sounds smart. And originally I got that URL before I knew what I was building with it. And I bumped into this guy who was like, actually he cold called me and was like, your website's ugly and everything you do sucks. One of those cold calls, one of those reverse calls.
Yeah. Let me
me
tell you, hey, I got an idea for you. Yeah. If you haven't done this already, tell AI to go look at your website and pack it against the top websites in your area and tell you everything you should fix, and it'll come back and tell you.
Well,
be like,
that's
look,
my favorite cold call too, right? I mean, that's everybody on LinkedIn right now tells me how ugly I am and what I could be doing better. So it was one of those. This guy reached out to me, and I was like, well, great. Here's what I want to do. And this was like 2 years ago, so it was like GPT had just broke. It sucked. Everybody was trying to slap it into the existing CRM they already had as these write it for you things. It was vanilla, horrible to experience, and it didn't work. And I was running platforms that had built in, and I thought that was that was the current available tool. So I automated as much as I could, but it would send compelling text messages because I would work hard on the script. But then nobody was there when somebody responded. So it wasn't a trust building exercise. It was a trust deteriorating environment. So it wasn't leverage. It was actually reverse leverage. It made things worse. So then I went right back to just doing everything myself. AI turned a corner recently where conversationally it's capable. So now you can automate outbound and it handles inbound. So Smart Agent AI it itself is an evolution of an idea that I had earlier than I was ready for. And then I went and built a coaching program instead because I myself could not design the software. And now software design tools have gotten to the point where any idiot with a vision and some time can go vibe code something that actually is market ready. So it's not that simple. I mean, the reality is I have a software developer involved in the project because it was the first major thing I took on, but it has evolved through what I learned coaching. Like when I met that guy, he's like, $2,000 and I'll build this thing for you. He couldn't build any of it. I burned $2,000 in a trash can somewhere. That guy doesn't like me anymore because he couldn't deliver. And I'm like, you promised me this and we don't have it. But the reality is technology could not deliver a nurturing environment at that point. Now I'm able to train AI to act like me, and that has helped me turn a corner. So I wouldn't have built this before this year because it wasn't possible to build. And then the biggest problem I could solve is nurturing existing customers, which is not the same thing as pointing a robot at somebody you've never met and crossing your fingers to hope it works. I have lifelong customers communicating with my AI assistant now, and it's working. So Smart Agent AI is a derivative. It is an evolution of an idea I had 2 years ago that didn't make any sense, that sort of the time lapse of technology caught the ability to produce and produce at a cost that was worth the risk.
Now, is it a software that you're getting ready to platform to be able to sell out to other agents, or is this something that you're only using for yourself?
Yeah, when I started building it with the intention of it being a platform for others. So it is in beta phase. We've got 5 people in it right now. I pumped the brakes at 5 because it showed our friction points around onboarding. There's quite a bit to software. It's like, yeah, there's what the software does, but then there's how you come into it. And this is like if you were to bring a Smart Agent AI into your business, we would customize the agent so it sounds like it belongs on your team. It's not that you have to hire me into your business. What it is we do an hour-and-a-half interview where I extract from you what I need to have your tone and character so that the agent doesn't pretend to be you, but there's congruency to interacting with your AI agent and interacting with you. So like the ability to make it custom was very important to me because that's the number one objection in AI. Well, how it is going to ruin all my existing relationships? And the answer is no. We've designed a system that onboards successfully so that not only is the newsletter, the data-driven newsletter that the system writes for you sounds like you wrote it, and the text messages that are sent on your behalf sound like it's part of your team and part of your culture. It's not flowery emojis if you're not that way. It's like it really is, if you can learn how to train AI, which I've learned, how you direct it to operate is why it's powerful. It can't just go and do anything. You can't say, hey, great, go sell me some houses. No, you have to tell it exactly what to do. And I learned that lesson hiring VAs. Like, you can't just say, hey, great, here's what we're going to go try to do. It's like, no, you need the tightest of SOPs. And as I started building a Smart Agent AI, I broke off into a derivative product, Thought Partner, because I was running into long-form thinking and the barriers to that in a ChatGPT environment. Because I had to think about everything. It was like, okay, well, when somebody says screw off, we're not interested, how are we going to route that so that it doesn't, the system stops communicating? Like, every single part of this had to be considered, turned over, looked at from all angles, and then it had to be made so that it's scalable across multiple people. So there was a lot to the development process. But the goal was always build a software system that is sellable.
Is it a software that can be used across different business classifications? Is it pretty much, if you have customers, it would be a software that could be tweaked or customized for any industry?
I would say yes, but there's a lack of discipline in that answer. Like, I'm onboarding a guy right now who runs a VA-facing company that helps VA get a higher rating for their benefits package. Sales is sales is sales. And because the system is built, the infrastructure's in place, and then it's just about retraining the agent. So it is possible. And what I've learned building software is actually, I really love, it brings me back to being an electrician. Like, every project was a little different. Understanding the variables and being able to wire across them was like the goal. That there's like a derivative product happening for me right now, which is Superhuman Systems, which is basically like, we are going to build an AI employee for you and then implant them in your business. Because what I run into buying an AI employee for me is, now I own the damn thing. It's like, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know what SUPA base is. I don't know where storage happens. I don't know what I didn't know what any of this stuff was. So to build custom AI and implant them in other people's businesses is kind of the thing one of the things I'm the most excited about. Because as I was building SMRT, that question came up all the time. Well, I have a thing that I could use. Oh, shoot, you're doing what? Yeah, I need something like that in my business. So everybody wants to talk about AI. And then once you've successfully solved memory and communication and prompt design and infrastructure for communication, and like these modular components of a software system repeat themselves, it becomes use case. And if you're like, what I learned coaching was, I can see your ass from over here. I'm like, dude, this is what's wrong with your business. Like, I just sort of developed a sixth sense and then a dialogue around it. So identify the problem. Whether or not we can solve it with a software solution, it will be determined by that conversation. And then when we can, I could probably put a AI employee in your business in a month for $100 a month with a $4,000 customization fee up front, so we can build the infrastructure. And the future of that business is we manage an AI workforce that's custom to your business. Instead of VAs, we're hiring out AI agents. And like, that all came out of this obsession with systems and processes. As I build software, I find the friction and I solve it, and then it becomes infrastructure for a bigger idea.
You kind of touched on this, but what is the overall motivation? What's the end goal, and where are you trying to get to?
Yeah, I think unlimited freedom is my mantra. I think money doesn't solve all of it, but potentially time control is something I gave away in order to become wealthy. And then it was like, oh, and I used the term wealthy. By some measures, I'm still scratching the surface. Older versions of me wouldn't even have believed what we've achieved financially at this point. So what I learned earning is potentially it's a time game, and I don't want to I don't know what's right or wrong with me. I have a burning desire to produce, and so then it becomes, what can I point that laser beam at that has the highest level of impact and creates unlimited freedom in my life. And what I like about software is I wake up at 5 a.m, go to the gym, sit down at the desk at 6. Between 6 and 9:30, I build software, and then I go run my other businesses till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. If I could come back and do software, I do, because it's my obsession right now. So I don't know that I could give anybody the same mechanism that I have, but it's like, I'm only happy when I'm productive. And then that currency, when I'm not productive, I'm miserable. So if I'm distracted from a project, or I feel like I didn't get anything done today, like, I have an insecurity about that, which is part of the motor that's just kept me. How do you win Rookie of the Year with 2 babies and no money? I don't know. You just fucking go. It's just always been I don't know. It's like a superpower and a curse. I don't sit still, man. I don't know how to.
Looking back on your life to this point, what is one failure that at the time nearly devastated you, but now you appreciate the lesson that you learned going through it?
Failure that was devastating. Okay, so I think it comes back to that land development play. I failed 3 or 4 times to get to the finish line on that one. I had this piece of land and I had a builder who was interested in it, and we went in on this project, me as the real estate agent, him as the land developer. And then he just decided it was too challenging, and I was working on it pretty hard, and he was like, we're out. There's failure number 1. Devastating, right? Let this failure be the failure. It was like, well, where's the opportunity in the failure here? That's when I reassigned the project to myself. I had to go get permission from him to do that because he was on the contract. I wrote my way into the contract and him out of the contract. Had to sell that to the seller as well. Stayed in the contract, spent every cent I had to get to a finish line, only for the city of Kuna to say, yeah, you know what, we don't have any sewer capacity in that area, so this project's early. I'm like, what? Then I spend about 3 months with all my money on the line, uncertainty of this thing going to close, just circling the wagons on this. And it turned out, actually, because of the size of my project, there was just enough capacity. I took the last 27 toilets available in Kuna for my project, but that was building a relationship with the city and circling the wagons on it. And then it was like, okay, shoot, how am I going to close on this? I don't have the money to buy the thing. Failure number 3. It just was like failure after failure after failure, all of which, 2021 was like, to quote Elon Musk, it was like eating glass and staring into the void. Everything hurt like hell. I was tired, dude. Coming out of 2021, probably by June, my wife didn't like me anymore. I was working too hard. I was focused on opportunity. It was very, very challenging to get through that year. But staying in the pain with a solution orientation, it all just hit, dude. It was like what felt unmanageable was manageable. What felt like it wasn't going to work, worked. And it was like, rather than quit, I just kept trying to solve the problem. It was like I just kept hitting the button. I'm not good. Until this thing is dead, I'm going to pretend I could bring it back to life. And then the subdivision flipped. I made $471,000 on that project. I sold 37 homes that year. There was another $440K. And then my management company stacked 60 doors under their belt. Finally, my management company had a stability mark. There's these benchmarks in management that are like very tight margins until you scale past a certain point. Then an employee eats up the margin. I went into the red on management probably 5 times to reach a profitable point. 60 doors was basically that mark. It was like all of these boulders I was pushing up a hill just sort of hit the plateau at the same time. And I knew better than to just keep pushing. I then went and focused on my wife. A friend of mine was like, I was like, dude, I'm losing at home. He said, well, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, that's a good question. He said, gamify it. What are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to 10x my home life. I was reading Grant Cardone's 10x book back then. That book lit a fire in me too. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to 10x, because I've been 10xing every area in my life. I'm going to focus at home. He said, what does that look like? I'm like, oh, shoot, okay. Well, every time she asks me to come home early, I'll do it. Anytime I finish a task, I won't just add tasks to the list. I'll go home. And anytime she needs something from me, I'll do it. And that was 3 weeks into running that play. My wife looked at me and said, I think we should have some more kids. Like, no joke. And it was like, what you focus on expands. It was like the essence of that statement. And the proudest moment I've ever had as a man is my wife feeling like we were in a place where she could ask that of me. And I think she was expecting me to say no. And I'm like, let's go, dude. Where do I sign up? Like, I will have more kids with you. And that was 2021. So we screwed it all up going into 2022. But there's just those moments where winning doesn't always feel like winning. In fact, often it feels miserable because of what it takes and what it requires of you and who you have to become to get to the finish line. And if you can fall in love with that cycle, you become dangerous. Like, I am intentionally throwing sand into the gears at this point. Like, I'm intentionally breaking the load so that we can re-engineer the system. Because every time I've done that, what I need has been there. Like, you have to have faith to do it. You're not going to do this just with grit and determination. You're going to do it with the true belief that you will have what you need. So you take the risk anyway. And then if you fail, dude, I've lost on that land development flip. I had that thing sold for $1,050,000. We closed at $899,000. Okay, so that was a significant loss on paper. That was devastating. But at the same time, I knew better than to break a deal around money I hadn't actually earned. So we just renegotiated and closed. Like, I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in risks that I've taken, and the reward has been millions.
What do you hope, and you have 4 kids, at the end of the day, when they're grown, you could be gone or not, what do you hope your kids say about you?
Ooh, I hope they say Dad gave it his all. I think that's all you can ask for. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my kids, and that's been part of the life that I designed. And one of the reasons my wife could say yes to more kids is I'm here for it. So what I've learned being a parent is I do not have any of this figured out. I'm not pretending to never lose my temper or like I just get this part. But what I go to sleep saying is I gave it my all today. What I want to say about myself when I die is I didn't leave anything on the table. I took the shot, man. I took the swing. The failure was just part of that. But I want my kids to think about me as always having given a full effort and being willing to take the risk.
Well, hey, I greatly appreciate you coming on. I feel like we could probably talk for quite a bit longer. We've just touched the surface on a lot of stuff. What's the best way for people to get in touch with Luke Gilbert?
Yeah, find
Luke William Gilbert. You said to use your middle name, so.
Well, you got to find that dweeb that looks nothing like me who's going by Luke Gilbert right now. So Luke William Gilbert. Find me on LinkedIn. I would say that's the stablest thing I have. Some of my talking points move, and if you find me there, I will see you.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on the Above and Beyond podcast. And any way we can help you out, please let me know.
Great to be here, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
This is Luke William Gilbert, and I've gone above and beyond.
Message carries on. Keep reaching above. Keep going beyond.
Before you go, if you want marketing that actually moves the needle, check out lzrmarketing.com. Expert marketing solutions for your business. From websites and social to ads that convert, Liz and Riley help you stand out and grow. That's LZR Marketing, laser focused on your success.
Like, share, and subscribe to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. Elevate your mindset, one episode at a time.